dictates that humans are the most advanced, capable of thought, reasoning, and emotions. But do plants possess these abilities as well? New evidence suggests they might. And even more mysterious, they may have the power of ESP, or extrasensory perception. A remarkable attempt to find the answers is carried out with an experiment that confounds the senses. The story began in Italy, where Carlo Cignozzi runs a 24-acre vineyard in the Tuscan hills. A music lover, Carlo's known to serenade his grape pickers with an accordion. In 2002, Carlo stumbled upon something extraordinary. In an environmentally friendly way to prevent pests from ruining his crop, Carlo placed loudspeakers throughout his vineyard, playing classical music 24 hours a day. The results were astounding. Not only were the pests frightened away, something else happened, something bizarre. The grapevines nearest the speakers grew 50% larger than the rest of the crop, matured more quickly, and even grew towards the source of the music.
It's fantastic to see. It's impossible to believe. The bunches are 4 times more. For example, they leave 2 times more. So the sound is like light.
Could plants have an intelligence science has yet to fathom? Botanist Dr. Jaydeep Mathur says the grapevine's response to music can be simply explained.
Basically, we are talking about vibrations. Plants are able to exhibit primary perception. They can pick up happenings from their surroundings, and that can be read out as electrical impulses. As far as classical music is concerned, perhaps there are certain tones, certain timbre, certain levels of vibration that plants are more responsive to in that particular music.
Sound waves are vibrations in the air made up of different frequencies. The vibrations caused by the sound of music can be felt by the plants in their leaves or in the soil. Research suggests the sound stimulates genes that control growth, leading to bigger and healthier plants. Susan Dudley, a plant evolutionary ecologist, has another theory why Carlo's vines grow so dramatically. She believes it concerns how the plants in the vineyard are related to each other.
Every plant has a mother and a father. The vineyard in Tuscany could be doing better because they're planted next to their siblings. For some plants, we know the plants do better when they're planted next to their siblings.
To create a consistent grape, most vineyards use cuttings from healthy plants and then graft them onto rootstock. This means that often most of the vines in a given field are genetically related clones.
I went looking to see whether plants could recognize who their relatives were and behave differently with those relatives. What we found is that plants respond differently to liquid in which other seedlings had been in.
Plants compete for limited resources like sunlight, nutrients, and water. Dudley's research has shown that when certain plants grow beside their kin, they work together for mutual survival, and are therefore more likely to all do well.
With a winery, usually vintners are planting all the same kind. They're not planting very different kinds together, so rather than better sharing because they're different, they might be sharing better because they're less competitive with each other.
Do Dudley's theories solve the mystery in the Italian vineyard? If the answer involves family ties or sound frequencies, why would only some vines grow towards the speakers? Could the answer be far stranger than anything even science fiction writers might imagine? Could vines and other plants be sentient beings, as many researchers believe, capable of displaying conscious choice?
I believe plants can sense. Now, whether they can sense precisely our thoughts or the thoughts of other animals around them really remains to be proven.
Botanist Jaydeep Mathur and his assistant Zach are going to put their theory to the test. Connecting a plant to a state-of-the-art polygraph or lie detector, sensors will monitor subtle changes in the plant's electrical activity, revealing how it responds to various stimuli. A noticeable spike in the readings could suggest the plant can respond to human thought.
I'm absolutely curious about what is the outcome from this particular experiment.
Jaydeep and Zach start by testing what many gardeners believe to be a fact, that plants respond to human touch.
Lightly brushing the leaves and the stems of the plant.
No, sorry, Zach.
There is no response. Next, they attempt what few scientists have ever tried before.
Threatening thoughts.
Using threatening body language and thought, they attempt to discover if plants have extrasensory perception.
No response so far?
No response.
That's all I got. Yeah. We haven't gotten any responses yet, eh?
With no tangible results so far, Jaydeep and Zach decide to raise the intensity for their next experiment by threatening the plant with physical violence.
Hold on. So as soon as you were on the way to cut it, there's a huge spike. That's really interesting because it was at a lower level, spiked up, came down, went up again, and then has now started resting at another level. So the spike actually comes prior to your action.
The result is remarkable. Before the plant was cut, a huge spike appeared on the polygraph. Was this a physiological response by a plant in imminent danger? Did the plant read Zach's mind?
This was almost the perfect moment for a plant to have become anxious. When you reached it with the scissors, with a very clear intention, at least in your mind, unspoken. So, again, maybe we are looking at something real. Scientifically speaking, this hardly would count as a result unless we could repeat it multiple times. But the fact is, and it comes as a major surprise to me, because I was not expecting this at all.
Although inconclusive, this experiment shocked the scientists. Can we prove what many already believe, that plants are able to think and feel? If true, it could mean a dramatic change in the way the human race interacts with this form of life.
February 2nd, 1966. I'd been in the polygraph field full-time for 18 years. And this particular morning, I'd been working all night in the laboratory and had decided to water a plant in the lab, very similar to the plant here, Dracaena cane plant. My thought was that as the moisture arrived to the leaf of the plant, plant should be a better conductor, and I should get a reading on the chart. Well, strangely enough, I didn't get this at all, and in fact, it did just the opposite. Instead of edging upward as it should have on the chart, it went into sort of a wild excitation, very similar to the first part of a human taking a polygraph test. But then it occurred to me, just about 14 minutes along, what would be the real optimum threat to the well-being of a plant. In fact, the imagery of fire entered my mind, and I not only thought, but I fully intended to burn the very leaf that was being tested with a match. Now, I had no matches in the room at the time, and I don't smoke, and I had to go next door to my secretary's area to get a match. But the interesting thing is that right at the split second that imagery, the fire, entered my mind, the tracing reflecting the changes in the plant just went right off the top of the page. And the only thing that occurred at that time, no lighting of a match, nothing else, merely the imagery of fire. And I must say that as of 14 minutes along in that initial observation on the morning of February 2nd, 1966, my life just hasn't been the same.
Dr. and Mrs. Kenneth Hashimoto. Relying on her affinity for plants, Mrs. Hashimoto looks forward to actual conversation with her cactus. Convinced that it possesses an intelligence, she is determined to teach it the Japanese alphabet.
The plant registers annoyance to the exhaling of tobacco smoke on its leaf surfaces. A scene familiar in any kitchen takes on special importance in this experiment. In some mysterious way, the plant which is attached to the instrument is able to feel the mutilation of its comrade. In a more advanced experiment, technicians were asked to pass through a laboratory containing 2 living cabbage plants. One of the subjects has been instructed to destroy the plant which is not attached to the electronic instruments. Hours later, the technicians are asked to return to the scene of the crime. The evidence is clear. The remaining plant has correctly identified the assailant.
During the next 6 hours, at some undetermined moment chosen by a randomizer, these brine shrimp will fall to their deaths in boiling water. In another room, completely separate from his laboratory, Baxter has placed the philodendron plant, a polygraph, and a videotape recorder. Carefully, he places the leaf between a pair of electrodes that will monitor the electrical activity of the plant.
For the automation of this experiment to be successful, I have to get a certain distance away from my lab so that my consciousness won't affect the results.
The results of each night's work must be carefully analyzed and recorded. In spite of his high percentage of successful results, only a few daring individuals from the scientific establishment have come forward with offers to replicate his experiments or test his results. The great majority are content simply to condemn his efforts without taking the trouble to investigate their validity.
If a few brine shrimp die and a plant feels their death, I think it's the smallness of the event that makes it so significant. It means that even on the lower levels of life, there's a profound consciousness or an awareness that binds all things together.
Okay, guys, plants have feelings. And as an emotional response to a threatening situation, they can even scream.
Is this a myth?
Yeah, yeah. Have you heard this one?
You know, I do remember there was a guy who took plants and hooked them up to a polygraph machine and did some tests.
Well, in fact, back in the late 60s and early 70s, he was a world polygraph expert. He developed this theory that plants, eggs, yogurt, all these things have a way of communicating on an emotional level that we don't even perceive or understand.
The concept of primary perception may be a little out there for some people. It means that all living organisms on Earth, from a whale, a human being, a plant, right down to a single cell, is interconnected, able to feel all sorts of emotions and to communicate with ESP. The theory was developed by the founder of the FBI's polygraph unit, Cleve Baxter.
I've been reading the experiments of Cleve Baxter. When he thought about burning the plant, the needle on the polygraph jumped, as if the plant could actually read his mind.
To put his theory to the test, the team is going to recreate some of his original experiments. First, to see if vegetation really does have feelings, they're going to get a plant, hook it up to a polygraph, subject it to physical and mental stress, and see if they get a reaction. Grant heads off to the nursery to get their victims and takes shop assistant Terry along as some extra muscle. At the Tropical Indoor Plants from Africa aisle, plant carer Cindy picks out Dracaenas, the same species used in the original Baxter experiments. They unload the unsuspecting plants into the truck.
Gentle, Grant. Keep your thoughts pure.
It's hard when you put a plastic bag over their head.
And Terry is giddy with excitement.
If you could talk to the plants, just imagine it, conversing with an orange carrot.
In fact, he seems a little touched by the sun.
Just imagine it. What would you say to an onion? What would you say to a baby carrot?
We will pray for you, Terrence. We will pray.
I feel closer to the plant kingdom already.
With the plants crossed off the Baxter grocery list, the next item they need has just arrived at the workshop's special delivery.
Grant, do you know how long we've wanted one of these?
Yes.
And I don't mean a box.
One genuine Stolting 22600.
I hear something rattling already.
The same model polygraph used in the, you guessed it, original Baxter experiments.
Oh, sweet.
But before they hook up their new plaything to a plant, they have to test it.
What I'm about to do now is prep the machine to hook up to Tori so that we can see if it's working.
Tori is already breaking a sweat.
Why am I nervous? This is ridiculous.
Detective Imahara begins.
Do you drive in the state of California?
Yes. How'd I do? Did I pass that one?
Okay. Do you work on a science-based reality show called Mythbusters?
I mean, you can call it work.
Have you ever lied about your age?
Absolutely not.
They check the results, and Tori is caught like a rat in a trap.
Number 6, have you ever lied about your age? Your galvanic skin response peaked there.
What, I said no, right? I said no, but because I have lied about my age before.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The only time I guess I would lie about my age is maybe if I was like in a situation, let's say like spring break.
Wow, what integrity you have, Tori.
You got some questions?
Burning questions.
To make doubly sure the polygraph is working right, it's Grant's turn to take some heat.
Do you find quantum physics easy for you?
No.
Has your GPA ever dropped below a 4.0?
Yes.
Have you ever made or wanted to make a female robot? Answer the question, Mr. Imahara. It's a simple question, Grant.
No.
Grant says no, but the needle says yes, yes, yes.
When I asked Grant about whether or not he'd ever wanted to or built a female robot, the needle went off the chart. And I'm a little disturbed by that.
So the machine has exposed Tori as being sensitive about his middle age, and Grant has a thing for replicants. Seems like the polygraph has detected their secrets and lies just fine. So now they can go ahead and hook it up to a plant.
All right, Grant, I got our guinea pig.
Primary perception is an open the portals of your mind kind of myth, that all forms of life have feelings and can read minds. Recreating the experiments of primary perception guru Cleve Baxter, Grant and Tori are using a polygraph. Their first test is going to be on this plant. To help block out any accidental electrical interference that could affect the polygraph, like a cell phone going off or a plane flying overhead, they're going to conduct the test inside a shipping container.
We'll take it into the container, which we know acts as a really good shield from radio frequency interference. The camera crew, everybody else will be outside, so all that camera equipment's going to be out there recording us remotely.
Grant and Tori clear their minds.
Let's go to our happy place.
And become one with nature.
There's definitely a little deflection there.
A little slap on the leaf caused the needle on the polygraph to move. Could it mean the plant is feeling fear and pain?
Plant's kind of twitching.
Because he knows what's coming.
To up the ouch factor, Tori pulls out the heavy artillery.
Whoa, huge spike.
The needle moved way more when the strength of the attack was increased.
Each time we hit the plant with the fire extinguisher, the needle pinned.
The boys are baffled, but move on to test if plants can read minds. This time, Tori's not going to touch the plant at all. He's just going to imagine hurting it.
Think about something specific to this plant, and I want you to really, you have to really intend to do it. Like, I am going to do this. I'm going to kick your butt.
Ready? At a good baseline, I gave it a mental picture, picturing it burning on fire.
The needle jumps.
Are you serious? Stop. No way. Tori had a thought, and the plant reacted.
What the heck was that?
I don't know. Okay, you're not touching the plant, is that correct?
No, I'm not touching anything. All I'm doing is I'm staring it down and imagining it in flames.
Is the Dracaena tapping into Tori's consciousness and terrified of being burnt?
Okay, that's it for today.
I mean, I'm not saying I believe this, but
yeah,
it's kind of hard to dispute the ink.
Even engineer Grant, man of science, is taking off his skeptic cap.
If I were to say that it was a random occurrence, be some pretty amazing coincidences going on.
It boggles the mind!
They unboggle themselves enough to decide on their next move. They got some mind-blowing results, but moving and talking so close to the polygraph may have been causing vibrations that made the needle move. This time, they're going to repeat the ESP test, but with themselves outside the container. Jedi Tori sums up all his powers and shows no mental mercy. Attack 1. Hard to tell what he's thinking. He could just be constipated. Attack 2. Again, no idea, but he's obviously one sick puppy. Attack 3. Why is he smiling? Methinks Tori is enjoying this a little too much.
We're running this experiment. I'm trying to keep the plant on its toes. I didn't want to just give it the same mental attack each time. Okay, that's 15 minutes.
Okay.
The guys compare notes, and Grant learns a lot about Tori's state of mind.
Okay.
At minute 4 to minute 4, 45 seconds, I gave it an angry attack. An angry attack is just I'm mad at the plant. I don't necessarily want to kill it. Minute 5 and 30 seconds to 6 minutes, I give it an evil attack. The evil attack, I'm ready to destroy it.
So angry, you're just mad, but you're not going to hurt it.
Well, I'm going to hurt it. I'm just not going to completely destroy it. At minute 9 to 9:30.
Okay.
It was a happy attack.
It's a happy attack.
A happy attack is being really nice to the plant, hugging it, putting it in a nice greenhouse, making it feel wanted.
His methods may have been a little kooky, but Tori meant serious business. So has his series of inspired attacks made a mark on the paper?
Us inside of the container, 35% of the time, the plant responded to stimuli. With us outside of the container, 28% of the time, the plant responded to Tori's psychic stimuli.
So there was less needle response with the guys outside the container, but still enough to keep Baxter's theory that all life is interconnected alive.
Ooh, this is weird stuff, man.
To test the myth of primary perception that all life has feelings and the power of ESP, Grant and Tori hooked a plant to a polygraph, attacked it physically and mentally, and the plant seemed to react. Could they be on their way to confirming this out-of-the-ordinary myth?
So how are you guys going with this experiment? I leave you guys alone for 2 seconds and you've proven plants have feelings.
Well, I mean, we've been getting some weird results. There's some kind of correlation between my thoughts and the plant and the polygraph machine.
So what do you guys plan to do to further this kooky experiment?
Ever resourceful Grant's got a plan. This time, the team is going to repeat their plant ESP experiment, but swap out the polygraph with an EEG machine.
An EEG is actually a very sensitive voltmeter, and so it uses electrodes connected to the head to measure any electrical brainwave patterns.
All living cells have electric currents running through them. Hooking up the Dracaena to the EEG might give the team more accurate results. And again, they're following in the footsteps of Cleve Baxter.
The original series of experiments used an EEG machine, and this gives us the opportunity to see whether it's a real plant phenomenon or whether it's an artifact of the polygraph machine.
Tori goes to town with his mental calisthenics one more time. But there's no blip on the screen.
Are you having big mean thoughts or little mean thoughts? What were you thinking of?
Big mean thoughts. I was just imagining tearing that plant apart in different ways.
I would say that that plant's not reacting to you.
No.
The data the team has from plants is conflicting, but Baxter did plenty of other experiments on different organisms they can try. They're going to test a popular breakfast item, rich in protein, B vitamins, and most importantly, live bacteria.
We're going to see if yogurt has emotions.
Well, I mean, most people get kind of freaked out when they hear that yogurt is a live bacteria.
You heard right. Emotional acidophilus.
Cool. We get to torture yogurt.
All right.
The idea is to take 2 samples of yogurt from the same tub, leave one in peace, and persecute the other. Part of the primary perception theory is that all life is in tune with each other, so the bacteria should sense that its buddies are being messed with. They squirt yogurt into test tube 1, insert conductive gold wire, and connect it to the EEG. They've already learned movement might affect the results, so to absorb any vibration, they set up test tube 2's stand on a foam base.
Okay, 10 feet's right here.
Upping the aggravation to the max, they pour in boiling water.
Let's see if we can stimulate it by making it angry.
Drop it like it's hot.
Nothing happened that time.
No result.
If the death of the bacterium BFFs doesn't get a reaction, what will?
I would love to be wowed. I would love to have my mind changed. That's my favorite, but so far I'm not convinced.
Yeah, this test was less than conclusive.
In the meantime, the primary perception myth is that all life, from the highly evolved to the most simple, is interlinked, aware of what is going on around it, and has psychic powers. By using a polygraph and EEG machine to detect any vibes, they subjected a plant and live bacteria to stress.
Nothing happened that time.
Their results haven't given them a concrete answer either way, so they're going to try another experiment, this time with human cells. White blood cells from Tori's mouth will be put into a test tube. Gold wire will be inserted into the tube and connected to the EEG. Then Tori will be tortured to see if his own cells in the tube feel his pain and freak out.
Tori, would you come over here? I need to take your leukocytes.
You're not going to use that on me.
Leukocytes, commonly known as white blood cells, live inside the body. A simple way to catch them is to spit. Tori horks into test tubes filled with saline solution.
With my mask in your mouth, this is probably a really great audio moment.
Go.
Proud of his Italian heritage, Tori may be, but his display doesn't exactly rival the beauty of the Trevi Fountain.
Fresh.
I think you have to close your eyes so you don't expect it.
Mistress Carrie is going to inflict physical pain on Tori using a stun gun.
Close your eyes.
Stun guns emit electric currents, so they move Carrie far enough away that when she turns it on, it won't cause interference on the EEG.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Out of range, she's ready to fry her friend. Do not try this at home. These devices do hurt bad.
It's worse when you don't know what's coming!
So did you get anything?
Nothing. No reading whatsoever.
Where you want it?
Oh, don't put it any place that would really be bad.
Maybe a little bump, but you know.
There's barely a flicker on the EEG that indicates the isolated white blood cells sense anything.
With our remote stimulation of Tori,
How about now?
we haven't seen any response.
I think we can safely say this one's busted.
It's busted. I don't see anything happening.
No. All right, so we finished all these experiments. You guys had fun shocking me, but we still haven't been able to explain those weird results that we got with the plant and the polygraph.
I think you'll find if we take all of the ways that we learned to isolate our experiment from outside influences and apply them to this last experiment, we'll get our answer.
The final experiment is a cracker. This time, the innocent chosen for the sacrifice is the humble egg. Grant whips up an intimidating-looking metal rig designed to break a bunch of eggs at random intervals. This test is to see if one cellular being, a plant, responds when another cellular being, an egg, is destroyed. The test has been designed to completely block outside movement, vibration, or electrical interference from affecting the results. Here's how it'll go. The plant will be put on a foam base and connected to the polygraph inside the shipping container. Grant's egg dropper will be placed outside the cage over a pot of boiling water. Then the eggs will plummet one by one into the drink.
Okay. Once this boils, we'll be ready to go.
No one, not even the eggs, will know when the time comes to meet their maker.
Not only will it choose a random cylinder, but also the time delay between cylinders will be random so that the eggs can't anticipate when the next one's going to drop.
The eggs are locked and loaded.
You just need to make an automatic toaster, automatic orange juicer. You're in business.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
So, once I do this, we have 30 seconds to exit. Okay. Ready? 3,
egg,
2, 1. Sequence started.
Every single soul, including the crew, exits the building. Trapped in the wheel of death, the first egg drops. If the myth is true, the plant should have reacted. The same when egg 2 falls. Omelet, anyone? After 45 minutes, the team comes back inside to check the results.
So we're looking for a jump in the polygraph when the egg drops.
Correct. That would be the plant's response to the eggs buying it in the boiling water. Okay, there's the first one.
And no reaction on the polygraph.
No screaming, no psychic activity.
Along with the eggs, looks like Baxter's theory of primary perception is broken.
Well, I agree. I think we did a really good job of isolating all the variables, things that might have influenced the original experimenters and given a false positive. There's vibration, electromagnetics, and most importantly, we took ourselves out of the equation.
But there was a point where we got some weird results, but we weren't able to repeat it. And if you can't repeat it, it's not science. So, this one's busted.
Busted.
But I did like shocking you a whole lot.
I know, you guys didn't get to feel it, and I think maybe we should share.
I thought I took the batteries out of that thing.
I thought you did too.
My supreme acknowledgement to Mother Nature and her many creations, whose life forms have passed through the lab and revealed to my curious mind their often hidden capabilities. Cleve Baxter. There is a saying in China, they do not come alone, but in pairs. Soon after Baxter detected that plants have feelings, he made new, more serendipitous discoveries. One of them occurred as follows. Baxter was cracking eggs to prepare animal feed when he saw that the polygraph pen immediately started swinging. This triggered a thought. What will happen if electrodes are attached to an egg? Thus, on May 24, 1966, Baxter conducted measurements on a non-fertile egg in his New York lab.
This is a tracing from the egg on a particular day. I can't get a tracing like this too often, but you see these little cyrations here? This is the heartbeat, an accurate rate of the heartbeat of an egg embryo that would be around 2 or 3 days along in incubation. But this is a non-fertile egg. A non-fertile egg. I show this to my polygraph people, just a little piece of this, and say, what's going on here? They say, well, that's somebody that has real fast heartbeat, and they seem to be moving here, and maybe they're trying countermeasures. And I say, what's wrong with you? After 7.5 weeks, you don't know. That's an egg. Anyway.
After Baxter found that plants have feelings and eggs have heartbeats, the plants in his lab were often attached with various measuring devices. He discovered a pattern. The highest quality results came from experiments that were carried out under random conditions. In other words, those experiments occurred spontaneously rather than being purposefully arranged.
Doing long-term monitoring of the plant life, I worked late at night and I had some yogurt in the refrigerator because I sometimes would miss meals. And so I decided I was going to have a container of yogurt that had strawberry jam in the bottom. And when I turned up the strawberry jam into the yogurt, the plant reaction just went crazy.
Here, the jacana plant was not in direct contact with the strawberry jam. The jacana was like an onlooker, observing Baxter eating his yogurt. When he only ate the yogurt without touching the strawberry, the jacana cane did not show any reaction. When he spooned the strawberry from the bottom of the yogurt, the jacana plant reacted.
And when I put that spoon in the yogurt and turned it up, it changed immensely. And as I look back on it, the only thing that could have happened is that the jam was either nutrient to the yogurt cells above it, or there was some kind of preservative in the jam that was affecting the cells that had not been in direct contact. And so I thought, wow, you know, this I didn't realize there were live bacteria in yogurt.
In other words, it is possible that the jacana perceived the microorganism's response to stimulation and then responded accordingly. So what kind of sensing capability do the microorganisms in the yogurt have? Baxter discovered mutual responses among the bacteria on January 4th, 1976, in a lab in San Diego.
Now this is interesting, where not only are bacteria conscious, where bacteria are tuned into other bacteria of a different type, friendly versus unfriendly bacteria. And watch what's happening here. Sam, the Siamese cat, got hooked on chicken. At least he convinced me of that. Would eat nothing but roasted chicken. Here is where I removed the chicken from the refrigerator. This is 4 rooms away from where the yogurt is the friendly bacteria is being monitored, the yogurt. And this is the yogurt tracing right here. And here I'm starting to strip the chicken from the carcass. This is a pretty old carcass now, and it's starting to get a bacterial buildup on it. Well, cats can handle that because they got a strong digestive system, but the bacteria were there. And here I'm disturbing the bacteria when I'm stripping it off the chicken. And here I put it under a heating lamp to bring it up to room temperature. Here, when the heat from the heating lamp hits the chicken in the dish, it is affecting the unfriendly bacteria to where the bacteria way up in the front room, is showing reaction. Here's the friendly reaction to the unfriendly bad guy bacteria on the chicken. Okay, the next one shows where then I stirred the chicken, took the cold chicken from the bottom of the dish, put it to the top, and again put it back under the heating lamp. And here's what's happening up in the front room recording of the friendly bacteria of the yogurt. And here is the unfriendly bacteria that is coating this chicken. And here I set the dish down, and the Sam started to eat the chicken. Here is about the time it took, this is about 10 seconds, for the chicken to hit the digestive juices of the cat. The word goes out and it flatlines from then on. In other words, the bacteria just stop reacting.
Now, are there connections between a main body and the individual cells separated from the main body? This is a more fascinating question. Baxter found the answer with further experiments. He used a centrifuge to separate the cells gathered from a donor's mouth. Baxter connected the polygraph to the white blood cells, or leukocytes, and, through the donor's emotional changes, was able to observe the cell's response. The donor was a petrochemical business merchant. At the time, he was reading a news report about a congressional hearing concerning the implementation of additional controls over the chemical industry. When he became indignant, his cells responded likewise. Baxter also carried out many experiments on a cell's conscious response.
When I had gotten the proper equipment to do my own white cell collection, because I had to get a centrifuge. First, I tried the procedure in collecting my own cells, but then on a session when Steve was there, and I let him collect his own cells. And he knew the collection procedure, went through it, the whole procedure. We electroded the cells, and then the thing that I did with him is I put a camera over his shoulder as he was reading a magazine. And the magazine, there was an article by somebody, Shockley, I believe was the guy's name, that was controversial at the time. And we got into a discussion about that. I said, well, gee whiz, my partner have Playboy magazine down in his desk drawer because he subscribes to it. So we went down, we found the issue, came back up, and not only did he find the Shockley article, but as he leafed through with the camera over his shoulder and his white cells being monitored, he got to the centerfold, which was a Bo Derek. And this is when there was that huge reaction. After that, he could see that he knew what was going on in his mind and knew what he saw on those pages. And I think that was for him the same as my February 2nd, 1966 observation was. It really was so powerful an observation that I don't think he was a skeptic anymore. I think he was with the program.
Cleve and I were discussing things in the lab, and we talked about a lot of things, and William Shockley is a physicist, and he had some very racially unpopular views, let's say, about genetics. And so we were discussing that, and I mentioned, I said, yeah, I think it was in a Playboy article. And he said, do you know which one? I go, no, I mean, I had no clue. And so we went down and looked and found it was the current month or whatever, and got up there, and so we're looking through the article about the genetics, and then Cleve came up with this great idea, since we had the camera over my shoulder and my white cells attached. He says, well, why don't you look through the rest of the magazine and see what happens? I said, okay. So I was looking through things other than articles, and I came to one photo that actually seemed really nice. And when it happened, my cells just went crazy, okay? The ones that were electroded. And it was rather embarrassing, to say the least. And now I'm telling everybody about it, but that's okay. At the time, I was a college student, and here I am hooked up with my white cells and reading a Playboy magazine, and my cells are just reacting. And it turns out it was one of the longest pronounced reactions that we've seen. It lasted for like 2.5 minutes or so. And finally, Cleve said, wait a second, we can't keep doing this. So I said, okay. So I closed the magazine down and slid up out of the way. I said, okay, I'm just going to try to calm my mind down, close my eyes, and just kind of think, okay. Just before I started to reach for the magazine, because I figured my cells were calmed down enough, another large spike. And so we all were getting a good laugh out of this.
And this is what happened here. And it continued to happen. Then finally I said, Steve, why don't you close the magazine? Maybe this will quiet down, which it did here. Then he was going to double cross me, and he reached for the magazine, and just reaching for the magazine caused that spike. You know? So I think it's extremely important. I think it's very, very important. And I think something needs to be done with it. And my ratio in interacting with people can't be 1-to-1, because that stagnates you. It will tie you all up. It's 1 to 1 million. Things that I can do that will affect 1 million people out there is what I'm trying to do. 9 is a very important number in my life, and I'm 81 now. That adds up to a 9, right? And the next time 9 comes around is when I'm 90. So I'm going to give it my all until I'm 90 anyway.
It just, I mean, nobody can get him off course. I mean, it's something that he feels that it's very significant. And there are so few people that have that much conviction to go forward when everybody else is telling you you're wasting your time and you're never going to make any money. But that's not his goal. His goal is not to make money. It's to get this research out.
No budget, no money for publicity, just me and my computer and letters. It's got this far. And hopefully this research will open up some doors.
To those who wonder why I felt such confidence, as one person who has experienced the indifference of many scientists in this field, I can simply state that such high resistance to new ideas does not concern me. I have a truly wonderful ally, Mother Nature. Cleve Baxter.